What is up, everybody? I hope you are having a fantastic evening. I'm back again, kind of. I feel like this announcement's happening every week as of late, but I'm ready to go. Got some training camp things to talk about, just some thoughts based off of what we're hearing, what we're seeing through some of the videos that are being put out. Really want to talk about Jawan Jennings and his situation, but I want to preface it through the lens of two ex-49ers, Charvarius Ward and Dre Greenlaw. I want to talk about them a little bit. I want to talk about the new signing in Braylon Allen and just overall thoughts about the team at this point. So let's hit this intro and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? How you been? You feeling good? Feeling good? Football's around the corner. Gosh, man, next week it's full bore for me for sure. I'm no longer going to be working with Bleacher Report. I stopped working with them. The Thursday, Friday thing was no longer going to work for me. So I took on another opportunity with Roundtable Sports, which I do the Tuesday show with, the NFC West Roundtable. You've seen it featured here a couple times throughout the offseason. I'll be hosting two of their other shows, the AFC South and the NFC North Roundtable. So really excited about those opportunities. They just fit in a lot better with what I got going on right now. But those start full bore next week, which means I've got 3 shows that I'm a part of over there. That means I got to ramp up over here. So really excited to get back into it. We've got football again on Thursday, the Hall of Fame game. I mean, here we are. Football is here. And gosh, man, I can't help but to think that all these injuries in training camp, and not just for the 49ers, but across the league. I mean, today we saw that Isaiah Likely went down, and we've seen some Emerson went down for Cleveland. His injury much more serious. It looks like Likely has a sprained ankle, and Emerson tore his Achilles. But there's a lot of injuries happening throughout training camp right now. And most teams just now put on the pads like today or yesterday. So we'll see. The Buffalo Bills had a major injury to their first-round pick. We don't know the seriousness of that yet. But, yeah, I mean, overall, there's just a lot of injuries. And the 49ers certainly have had their own. Some are certainly concerning. I mean, we talk about Mykel Williams with the ankle sprain or ankle issue. You know, when the 49ers say it's not a big deal, it usually is some sort of a big deal. So I don't know exactly what's going on there. I don't know if it's the same ankle. I don't know if it is the same ankle. Is it the high ankle sprain? I don't know exactly, but it is worrisome that he had an ankle issue that stopped him from performing last year. And he got it around this time last year, and it lingered all throughout the season. So let's hope that it's a minor tweak, not even the same ankle, or certainly not the same injury, and he's able to get through it, because Mykel Williams looked like he was having a very strong camp. And that was one of the questions that I wanted to pose was, I don't know if you've been paying close attention to the reports. I assume you have, but it sounds like a lot of these rookies are having field days against Dominic Pooney in particular. And so the question is, should we be worried about Dominic Pooney, or should we just be excited about the rookies? Maybe both. I will say Dominic Pooney had a very, very good rookie year last year. There's no doubt about that. But, and I had mentioned this multiple times throughout the course of this offseason, it was clear that towards the tail end, he certainly was not the same player. Now, I attribute that to the fact that he was a rookie, and most rookies hit a rookie wall. That's exactly what happened to him. He caught on fire early, competed, was basically given the starting job initially because of injury, but then when those players worked their way back, it didn't matter. He had taken it by the reins, and it was his job. He had completely earned it, and he was a stud for most of the season. Now, again, towards the tail end of the season, he started to trail off a little bit. And I said, well, you know, it's rookie season. He's hitting the wall. It is what it is. He'll be fine. And I still do believe that. But it is interesting to hear that some of these rookies are kind of having their way with him in camp at times. So to me, I just think that Dominic Pooney's a pretty good player. And so if that's the case, then that means maybe these rookies are pretty good players, or, maybe they had a hot rep or a hot day. Who knows? We'll see what actually ends up happening with these guys. But I would say that my panic meter with Dominic Pooney is very, very low. I think he's a good player, but it is tough. I'll say like him and Renardo Green both had good rookie campaigns, but you don't truly know. I mean, we've seen plenty of players have good rookie years and then kind of regress to the means. I mean, even a player like Sauce Gardner, who got paid by the Jets, he was considered for a year or two like, oh my gosh, this might be the best or a top 3 corner in the league. And they paid him anyways. I'm not saying he's not good, but he's certainly not the elite corner that most people thought he was after year 1 and year 2. He's still very good. So, I could see a scenario where Dominic Pooney is maybe not as good as what we thought, or Renardo Green's not as good as what we thought. I could also see a scenario where they're both amazing. And I hope that that's the case. I hope that they're both amazing. But I'm encouraged when I hear that some of these rookies are kind of having their way with a player like Dominic Pooney. It wouldn't be as impressive if we had heard that Jake Brendell's getting the socks beat off of him, right? Or the rookie guard is getting the socks beaten off of him. It's like, oh, okay, that's great, But Dominic Pooney, we've seen and we like, and we think is going to be pretty good. In fact, he's one of the reasons. It's like Trent Williams is great, and then Dominic Pooney is showing to be a pretty dang good player that we have some confidence in this line that we know is flawed for sure, but it's like, well, at least we can count on Trent Williams and Dominic Pooney. So if we're going to operate under that assumption of counting on Dominic Pooney and thinking he's going to be a pretty good player and continue to improve, then we have to feel good about some of these rookies beating him the way that they've been reported to be doing so. But Mykel Williams with this injury, pretty worried about it. Pretty worried about it. And it's just hard with the 49ers because we don't ever get full details. And how many times, I mean, Christian McCaffrey was a great example of this. Like, oh, Christian, he's fine. And then he's questionable for week 1, but he'll probably play. And then he doesn't play until week 11. D Ford still is on the injury report. I mean, I think he's day-to-day still. He should be back anytime, right? Like, that's what we were told forever. Oh, he's day-to-day, and then week to week, and then year to year. So I don't know. I don't know what to think with these injuries. The Juwan Jennings injury as well. Calf. I mean, not even with the 49ers and what we saw with Christian McCaffrey and his Achilles thing, but just calf injuries in general. I mean, Richard Sherman's a great example. Calf injury, tears his Achilles. Christian McCaffrey, calf injury, bilateral tendonitis in his Achilles. Halliburton, calf injury, torn Achilles. Kevin Durant, calf injury, torn Achilles. Like, you have to take the calf injury very, very seriously. Now, that doesn't mean that his calf injury is on the level of that or that we should panic about it, but it's certainly concerning. Certainly concerning. So, although the 49ers don't have the injury that it seems is going to just set them back for the whole year as of yet, knock on wood that it doesn't happen at all. To me, there are some reasons of concern, and for different reasons. Mykel Williams, similar injury. We don't know if it's the same ankle. Calf injury for Jennings. So these soft tissue things, they've been hell. So we'll see how it plays out. What's up, Dave? He says, my dude, glad to see you. You look good, happier. I appreciate that. I wouldn't say that I'm happier. I don't know. I'm trying my best. I'll say that. I'm trying my best. Still have full faith in God. I know that I'll get through everything that I'm going through, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that this is the toughest time in my life. The toughest time in my life. And that includes my father's death, to be honest with you, who I love dearly. He died unexpectedly. That was a very tough time, but this is actually tougher. This is tougher. So, but I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I appreciate it though. I'm glad that I come across like I'm happier. That's the goal, man. That's the goal. I want to get on here and not be a bummer, but I also want to be very honest when questions are asked. You know how I am. So, all right. Speaking of defensive linemen, though, let's talk about Jalen Allen. So, I didn't know much about Jalen Allen. Now I know a little bit more. I looked into him. Jalen Allen came out. He was a part of the 2024 draft class. He played for Memphis. He was second team all ACC or SEC or whatever conference they're in. I don't even know. He was never a big sack guy by any means. 6'2", 240 pounds. He went undrafted, I believe, to the Denver Broncos and then had an injury settlement with them. He ended up going to the UFL, played for the Memphis Showboats, so stayed right where he went to college. He had 10 games, 23 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble. Not great. Doesn't sound great. But here's what's encouraging. 21 pressures. 21 pressures. Now, of course, we know the UFL is a lower league. It's not the NFL, whatever. But we've seen a couple players make it out of there and be decent. And it sounds like Huff knows him very well. They were teammates. He definitely vouches for him, says he's much more explosive than he remembers him being. And I'll say this. I mean, there's just nothing to lose here. The way that I see it is the 49ers have 3 guarantees at edge rusher to make this team. I would say Bosa, obviously, Huff, Mykel Williams, but we know that Mykel Williams is also going to play from the interior quite a bit. So, I mean, 2 full-time edge guys. Also, Bryce Huff's more of a rotational guy. So really they got like Bosa and then like 2 half guys. They need somebody else. So maybe that's Beal. Maybe that's Jalen Allen. Maybe that's Tier Gross Matos. I don't know, but the more the merrier. I mean, at this point in camp, get as many bodies as you can. Throw spaghetti against the wall. Let's see what sticks. That's the way that I see it. The more players you can get at this point, figure it out. Now, what I will say is, for me, this is the way to do it in camp. Get some young players, see if you can make something happen from it. But if you get through camp and none of these guys are worth their salt as far as being on an active roster, other than the 3 that I mentioned, if you're trying to compete, and I believe the 49ers are, that's when you go get somebody like a Jadeveon Clowney. Who's out there? Who I actually think is very, very similar to Mykel Williams. Obviously a much older version, but I see a lot of similarities in body type and how they're going to impact the league. Hopefully Mykel Williams is much healthier and makes it to that second contract with the 49ers, doesn't become a paid mercenary the way that Jadeveon Clowney was. But I see a lot of similarities there between Mykel Williams and Jadeveon Clowney. I think having somebody like a Jadeveon Clowney would be great, but I don't think bringing on a Jadeveon Clowney at this point makes a lot of sense. And even if that means Jadeveon Clowney ends up somewhere else, like, that's fine. I'm not saying they need Jadeveon Clowney, but what I'm saying is if they only can trust 3 guys at the edge rusher position, might be worth it to bring in a Jadeveon Clowney who can play a little bit. I mean, imagine, just throw this out there. 3rd down and 7. You got Bosa, you got Clowney, you got Mykel Williams, and you got Huff. I mean, talk about 4 players that you can trust to get after the quarterback, and 2 of them are edge rushers or edge setters, good run defenders, but probably better at getting to the quarterback from the interior of the line. So, I don't know. I mean, that sounds like a pretty formidable 4, if you ask me. Talk about a 4-man front. I mean, you thought Jesse and Grant and Ryan and Coach was a good 4-man front. That's a 4-man front right there. That's a 4-man front that would put a lot of fear in a lot of teams, all right? More so than us 4. It's hard to say that, but it's true. But yeah, that's the way that I see it is try these young players out, throw spaghetti against the wall. Let's see if it sticks. And if it doesn't, go get a proven vet like Jadeveon Clowney. He's not going to be expensive. He's not going to be more than a 1-year deal. He makes a ton of sense. Would love to have somebody like that. All right. Did you guys see this talent under 25 years old by ESPN? Did you see this list by chance? They go through and they rank every team based off their talent, 25 or younger than 25 years old. So guys that are 25 don't qualify, I believe, on this list. Brock Purdy, 25? He's right? Isn't Brock Purdy 25? Something like that. Maybe he's 26. Either way, he's no longer a part of the list. And they go through and they rank all 32 teams. They have the 49ers at number 30 on this list for talent 25 and under. So, or under 25. Whatever. I guess I should probably know the parameters of the list. I think you have to be under 25. Right now, Ricky Pearsall fits that description. He's not 25 until September. But they go through and they have like blue chip prospects across the league. And the 49ers, for guys that are under 25, have 0 blue chip prospects on this list. I tend to agree with them. Rookies usually aren't going to be considered blue chip prospects. Now, Michael Williams and I mean, we see some of these guys. This list could be very different next year. These guys pan out. These rookies pan out the way that they seem to be showing. Ronaldo Green takes that next step, and Pooney and Pearsall. Like, we could see a scenario, Malik Mustafa, where all of a sudden their talent under 25 next year is really, really good. We could see that. Well, I guess Pearsall wouldn't be on the list because he'll be 26, but you get what I'm saying. But as of now, I kind of understand where they're coming from. I mean, to me, you can't really have a blue chip prospect unless they've played in the NFL for a season and they've done something. They've done something pretty cool, something special. Right now, the 49ers don't have that. Now, Pooney's good, but I wouldn't say he's looks to be elite as of yet. Some guys come in and they're rookies and they're elite. I would say Ladd McConkey, blue chip prospect. He played last year. He looked really good at the receiver position. Malik Neighbors, blue chip prospect. Those are kind of what I'm talking about for younger guys that we've seen that we believe can be really good. Jaden Daniels, blue chip prospect. You know what I mean? The 49ers at this point don't have any guys that are proven to be that. We'll see what happens after this year. But right now, I would tend to agree with that. And really what this shows is not that the players that they have now that are under 25 aren't good or can't be good, because we've talked about how they could easily move up this list next year. Really what this shows is how bad they've drafted up until last year and the lack of first and second round talent they've been able to draft because of what they spent on Trey Lance and Christian McCaffrey. I mean, it really put them behind the 8 ball, and it's made this thing really, really tough. So that's what this tells me. It's less about last year's draft class and this year's draft class, which hopefully these two combined can turn things around, but it's really about the lack of chances at it. And even their early draft picks a couple years ago where they had 3 third-round draft picks, I mean, none of those guys have worked out so far. And the one that has a chance is Jake Moody. Like, wow, we're so excited to have a mediocre kicker. That's great. That's the best of the 3 draft picks that you had. Drake Jackson, not good. Cam Latu, not good. Danny Gray, not good. Jake Moody, that's what we're holding on to. So, yeah, I can understand why they're number 30 on this list. It is a little disheartening. It also shows really how far the 49ers have to go. I mean, they not only does this draft class have to be a good one, last draft class has to prove to be good as well, but the next draft class is going to have to be good if they're going to fully replenish the cupboard of talent that's going to come their way. I mean, that's just ultimately what it is. So they're going to have to continue. They're going to have to continue to hit on all of this stuff if they're going to be competitors long term. So Dave says, remember, God gives the toughest battles to the toughest men. Yeah, man. Listen, I'm a big believer that he never gives you more than you can handle. I'm also a big believer that everything happens for a reason. Those things are easier to say when you're not in the fire. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that right now. Those things are easier to say when you are not in the fire. However, faith is not when things are going well. Faith is when things aren't going well, knowing that God's got your back. And that's where I'm at right now. That's where I was when my father passed. That's where I'm at right now. It's hard though. I mean, I will say, like, as a believer, it's hard to, you're not supposed to have doubt and fear when you trust in God, but it's very hard not to have those things. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to work through is like, how do I cast out doubt? How do I cast out fear and trust that God's fully got me here? It's a hard thing to do. It's a really hard thing to do, but that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm working through. All right, we talked about Jadeveon Clowney off the cuff there. I didn't plan on talking about him, but there are two other players that I think the 49ers should be interested in. One, much more than the other. One was a player that I talked about early in this offseason. He's finally been cleared from injury. We'll talk about him in a minute, but I want to talk about Christian Wilkins. Now, I get it. Totally get it. Hold on a second. I see a couple questions here, so love you too, Gammon. I appreciate you. Because you're human. Yep. That's why we're not perfect, man. That's why we're not perfect. I want to make sure. Oh, for sure. But Lad's a good player. Okay. I just want to make sure I got this question. Joseph, I got your question. It's starred. Saving it. I'll get to it in a minute. Okay. Christian Wilkins. Now, I know he's got that kind of weird, sketchy thing going on. Listen. If he was supposed to get another surgery and he didn't do it, that's an issue. And it sounds like the Raiders are trying to work through that. What I will say is Christian Wilkins, when he's healthy, 29 years old, a heck of a talent in this league, a guy that can help anybody. Now, I would say if I were a team picking him up, you're probably not going to get a Christian Wilkins playing until week 7-ish, maybe a little bit later. I don't know that that fits the 49ers timeline. And that's why I'm not necessarily advocating for the 49ers to sign him. Now, there was also, again, the weird incident, kissing the teammate on the head in the locker room. Listen, guys, you all know this as well as I do. We do funny, weird things. Okay? I'll leave it at that. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Was this something that was along those lines where it was a joke? Was this something where he truly made his teammate feel uncomfortable? I don't know. I don't know the details of it. I don't want to get into the details of it. It definitely has to be addressed because that's something that's out there. There's a lot of funny like gifs going on about, whatever. I'm not getting into all that. Is he a good player? Can he help a team win? Unequivocally, yes. Is he healthy and will he be healthy this year or ever? I don't know the answer to that question. But if he is, I think the 49ers should look into it when they know for sure he can pass the physical and be healthy. I would look into it if he's willing to come here and if the 49ers at that time are a competitive team. But a player that I really want the 49ers to look at, and I want them to look at him right now, is a player that I've always liked. I liked him when he was with the Giants. I liked him when he was with the Cardinals. And he's at a position of major need for the 49ers. That is the guard position. Will Hernandez just posted today or yesterday on Instagram that he's fully cleared from his ACL. He is good to go for the season. I would absolutely take the risk on somebody like Will Hernandez. He is a mauler in the run game. He's improved as a pass blocker. Does he fit exactly what the 49ers want to do? Maybe not. Maybe not fully. But at some point, you just got to get good players and make it work, Kyle. You can't go and get your prototypical, my guy weighs this and does this in the shuttle. And no. Because when you do that, you end up with a bunch of undrafted free agents or late round picks that everybody gets excited about every training camp or every undrafted free agent signing. You get people coming out that deride the team and are like, oh, okay, this offensive lineman was a UDFA, and oh, I thought the 49ers needed to draft a lineman high. I can't wait till everybody sees him, and then he doesn't even make the team. Every single year we see it. And those are the players that you end up with on your roster when you are unwilling to go outside your framework and just get good players. Now, is Will Hernandez the best guard in the league? Absolutely not. Am I confident that he's an upgrade over what they have right now? 100%. Does he fit exactly what Kyle wants? I know for a fact that he doesn't. It shouldn't matter. Just go get the best players. And if you're a great coach, you can make it work. And it's not like Will Hernandez can't move. He can. He's a big guy, but he certainly can move. Maybe not to the level you're looking for. Figure it out. Just get the best players and put them on the team. I would love for the 49ers to kick the tires on Will Hernandez. Will Hernandez is going to help somebody. The Texans right now, look, I don't know what they're doing with their offensive line. They should be all over a Will Hernandez. I'm surprised he's not signed already, but somebody's going to get him at some point in this offseason or early in the season, and I think he's going to help that team. I do. So hopefully it's the 49ers that look into it. I doubt that they will. That's a frustration I have with Kyle for sure, but ultimately he's a player that I would love for the 49ers to go after. All right, Dave says, I got you wholeheartedly. Right now is one of the toughest battles, but I'm moving forward knowing God's got me. No matter how scary, where's the next check coming from? God knows. Hope for the Niners to win. Listen, man, I'll say this. I don't know what you're going through, Dave, but I'll definitely pray for you. If you're worried about money, please stop sending me money. I don't know if you're just like throwing it out there or whatever, but I'll be good, brother. Right? Like you don't got to pay for your comments to be read here. All right. So if it truly is a money situation, like please don't I just feel bad at this point. Don't shoot it my way. Put your comments up and I'll read them like normal, bro. I know you support whether you send $1 million or no money. That's really beside the point. You've always been a supporter and I will always appreciate you no matter what. Joseph, I wanted to mark this because he said, hey, Jesse, if the Niners have another losing season, do you think they fire Kyle and hire Saleh? No, I don't think that happens at all, actually. What I do think happens is that John Lynch would be gone. I've always said that you'll know that Kyle's on the hot seat when John Lynch is no longer a part of this team. And I believe that. I believe that John Lynch goes before Kyle. I mean, if at all, right? Like they may ride off in the sunset together. I'm not saying that either one's going to be fired, but under what you're asking, which is another losing season, that means not only do they not make the playoffs, like if they were 10-7 and somehow missed the playoffs, okay. But if they're 8-9 or worse, second year in a row, with Robert Saleh coaching the defense, committing to Brock Purdy long-term, something's got to change. Something has got to change. And to me, that would be John Lynch. I think John Lynch would be out. They'd figure something out there. That signifies that Kyle Shanahan's on the hot seat. And then we'll see what happens with Kyle. He'll have one more year to prove himself. That's the way that I see it. I highly doubt that they would go the Robert Saleh route. But again, to me, Robert Saleh being here and Brock Purdy being paid signifies to me that the fan base would put the squeeze on Kyle Shanahan. This fan base loves Kyle Shanahan, and I think it's deservedly so for the most part. There's plenty of people that don't like Kyle. I get that wholeheartedly, but there are a lot of people that back him no matter what. If Robert Saleh's defense does well, and Brock Purdy was the one that was chosen long-term by Kyle Shanahan, then I would say it puts the squeeze on Kyle for sure, but not enough to be fired. Again, if they have a losing season, that would be John Lynch that goes, signifying that Kyle's on the hot seat. All right, I want to talk about this Juwan Jennings contract and injury, but I want to do it through the lens of two other players to kind of make my point here. So Juwan Jennings, first of all, I've heard that I've heard some rumblings that, how much do I want to say? There's a conflict within the powers that be on Juwan Jennings, on whether they should extend him or whether they shouldn't. Now, this was pre-injury, just to be clear. I've heard that if he was going to get an extension, it would be around a 2-year extension, anywhere from 13 to 16 million a year for those 2 years. So 26 to 32-ish million, right? The guarantees would obviously be different, but that's what I've heard. Do I know that that's a fact? No. Is it reliable, or has it been reliable based off of past things? Sure. But there are no guarantees here. There's just things that I've heard. And I know also, even post-injury, most fans advocate for the 49ers to sign Juwan Jennings to a contract. So if that is the case, I've said that the 49ers should not extend Juwan Jennings. And if they can trade him now, that they should get an asset for him. A lot of fans disagree with that, and that's okay. But let's look through the lens of 2 other players here real quick. One being Dre Greenlaw, who was asked why he chose the Broncos this offseason. And he said because he felt wanted the whole time, the whole way through. From the beginning, the Denver Broncos showed interest. They wanted him on the roster. That was clear. He said he lived in foster care and foster homes growing up, so feeling wanted is important to him, which I find interesting because that then implies that the 49ers did not make him feel wanted. Not necessarily about the money, but they didn't make him feel like a priority or like he was wanted. So ultimately, even though they flew to his house, made the last-ditch effort before free agency officially started, he chose the Denver Broncos. So 49ers didn't look at Dre Greenlaw as a future staple piece of this team. So that brings us to Charvarius Ward. Now, Charvarius Ward, great article came out by Mike Silver, I believe it was today, talking to Charvarius Ward. And I've got quite a bit here from Charvarius Ward and what he said, talking about last offseason, where his mind was. He also talked about, losing his daughter and how much that crushed him, where he's at today. It sounds like he's in great spirits and starting to turn things around, which is awesome to hear. Very happy for him. But I think the way that he viewed last offseason is very telling. And I remember on the 4-man front, I think it was the 4-man front. It had to have been. Ryan and I had a good debate about, was it good for the 49ers to have as many players as they did on lame duck contracts? He looked at it as a positive. And the reason he looked at it as a positive is because he felt like people would be fighting for their next contract. And so that would give them motivation and that would make them a better team. My argument was, certainly that's a possibility, but to me, if you've got a bunch of players on lame duck contracts, they're going to be very selfish because they want that next payday. They're either going to check out mentally, or if they are checked in, they're checked in for I and not we, because that's what they're worried about. They know that they're not going to be here most likely. They're mad that they didn't get the interception or the target or what have you. So I thought it could cause some friction. Now, I'm not saying that it did or I don't know. I don't know who was right in that scenario. I will say, when it comes to Charvarius Ward in particular, my argument was correct. That does not mean that my argument is correct across the board or across the league. Ryan very well may be right about this, but Charvarius Ward in particular has some more insight into what I thought was a potential possibility here. So let's read this. There's a lot here to talk about. So he's talking about the offseason last year. He says, even before that happened with my baby, I really wasn't super motivated because after the year that I had in 2023, I wanted a contract extension because I wanted to stay and I know that I wasn't getting a contract offer. They came to me and kind of told me that it was because they had other people to pay. So it kind of had me in my feelings a little bit, and I just never made it public. He continues, I was hurt when I realized that I wasn't getting a contract extension or even an offer for an extension. So I wasn't motivated. Like from OTAs all the way through camp, I was kind of pissed off. I knew the season started. I knew that when the season started, it was a wrap in the Bay. Then he was basically asked about, okay, well, what about the guys that held out, that got contracts, what have you? And he says, everybody feels that when certain players are not around and certain guys are around but not participating, like I was there, I had surgery after the season under the advice of them. Basically, the 49ers said, hey, you should have surgery. He agreed. And I was rehabbing with them. I had been an all-pro too, and I didn't get paid. So I was like, what the F? Obviously, he didn't say what the F. You know what he said. I was like, what the F? Like, people are not showing up and getting paid, and I wasn't. Well, the reason that I bring this up is obviously because it's fresh, right? But also because this has a lot to do with Jauan Jennings from multiple aspects. One, Jauan Jennings is looking at it going, hold on a second. I'm going to be entering the season as the guy, assuming he's healthy, right? Again, this is prior to the injury. We don't know what's going to happen here, but assuming health, I'm entering the season as the guy. I was the 1,000-yard receiver last year. Obviously, he fell just short. We know why. He would have gotten 1,000 yards. I'm not asking to be the highest paid guy. I guarantee he's not asking for more than like 16, 17 a year max, which for a number 2 wide receiver, that's pretty fair. Pretty fair. So I'm not getting paid, much like Charvarius Ward wasn't getting paid last year. Does he go into this season if he doesn't get paid and say, hey, it's a wrap for me in the Bay? I don't care. It's more me versus the we aspect. Possible. What about what Charvarius Ward went through where everybody around him was getting paid and he wasn't? Is it possible that if Jauan Jennings isn't getting paid, that he could be flustered by the fact that everybody around him has gotten paid over the last couple of years and he isn't? That's possible. Now, it's also very possible that Jauan Jennings doesn't care. He's going to go out and play his heart out, and he's going to be awesome, and he's not going to be an issue. That's also very possible. But I wanted to bring those 2 players up in particular and their situations up in particular because I could see how Jauan Jennings could be a little perturbed by this. Now, I also wanted to bring those players up because Jauan Jennings, if we just go player for player and what they've done in their career, who's a better player, Jauan Jennings or Charvarius Ward? Who's a better player, Jauan Jennings or Dre Greenlaw? I don't know. I mean, I'll leave that up to you to decide who the better player is. But I would say, and I've always said that Jauan Jennings is the Dre Greenlaw of the offense. I would say that at the very least, we're talking about similar players as far as talent. That's if I'm being overly fair to Jauan Jennings. If I'm being honest, I would say that Charvarius Ward and Dre Greenlaw are both better than Jauan Jennings. Certainly Charvarius Ward had proven more. And so that begs the question, why sign Jauan Jennings to a long-term contract and act like he's a staple part of this team when you wouldn't do that with Charvarius Ward or Dre Greenlaw? Now, you can say, well, Dre Greenlaw, he had the injury. That makes sense. Okay, I can go with that. But Juwan Jennings is 28. Travarius Ward's 29. It's not like Travarius Ward's bad all of a sudden. We know why he wasn't that great last year. And it was more personal reasons than anything. So if he isn't worth even a contract offer, then why would Juwan Jennings be? Because player for player, Travarius Ward is simply better, has had the better career. So I don't know. Would I be upset if they signed Juwan Jennings to a contract that I had stated earlier, 2 years, anywhere from 13 to 16 million annually? No, absolutely not. I think Juwan Jennings is an awesome player. I think he's an awesome teammate. I think he's one of the better people for sure. I like everything that he stands for and plays for and all of that. But I also don't look at him as a must-have for the future of this team. I just don't. And so for me, I don't know. I'm not willing to go all in on players that I don't look as must-haves. And that's just not how I view Juwan Jennings. Maybe you view it differently. I understand how maybe this year you could see that, but going forward past this year, I just don't see him as a must. And so I wouldn't be excited to extend him past this year. That's just me though. I'm sure a lot of you have different opinions for sure. That's just how I view it. And if the 49ers, again, let's remove my opinion. Let's go with the 49ers opinion. If they didn't view Dre Greenlaw or Travarius Ward as those guys, I think it makes it tough to view Juwan Jennings as one of those guys. And now that he's got an injury, we'll see how serious it is. And like I said, from what I understand, there's a little bit of discourse in the front office and whether they should or shouldn't extend Juwan Jennings. So we'll see what actually ends up happening. Daryl says, the Lord never said you are not supposed to have fear because David said, at what time I am afraid, I will trust in the Lord. You are dealing with emotions that are natural, brother. I appreciate that. I needed to hear that. Thank you. Fred Dead. Nice, Fred. He's a new member. Appreciate you. John Naylor, Seahawks fan, says, stay strong, Jesse. I will, John. I appreciate you. Thank you. And Sir Cash Money says, took a long break from all football news, but now I'm catching up on everything. Just heard we hired Robert Saleh as our DC. Let's freaking go, Niners. I don't believe you. You know the Anchorman gif where he's like, I don't believe you. And he spins around in the chair. That's me right now. I don't believe you. I've certainly seen you here in the offseason at some point. After the Robert Saleh signing. Are you sure about this, Lake? Remember what I said. Just remember what I said that I wouldn't go into details about. And then ask yourself, are you sure about this? We'll see. Oh, for sure. He was almost Super Bowl MVP. I want to be clear because sometimes things are taken very out of context. Like, oh, you think he's not a staple player and you don't think he's as good as Dre Greenlaw and Travarius Ward. That does not mean that I don't like Juwan Jennings and I don't think he's a heck of a player. I think he's an awesome player. I do. I just don't think he's a must-have, personally. It's simple. We have to pay a QB issue, though Brock ain't worth it. Worth was what he got, but that's the issue. Some were going to get pushed away because of it. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Oh, right now, yeah. But let's be clear. When they signed Debo versus when they're looking to sign Jennings, Debo was much better than Juwan Jennings as far as when they were up for contract. So yeah, that's entirely possible. That is entirely possible for sure. For sure it is. Like I said, I expect 2 years, 30-ish million. We'll see. We'll see if I'm right. See, this is what makes it interesting, Dave, because Jawan Jennings had the option last year to sign the tender. And I don't know if you remember how that played out, or any of you guys do, but there was a point in the offseason where I was saying the tender wasn't signed. People were saying that it was. So I was like, oh, maybe I just misheard. So then for about a couple weeks, I just went along with, oh, the tender was signed because that's what other people had reported. That's what I believed. Then we find out it wasn't signed, but he signed a 2-year deal that was going to pay him more money. So it's like, okay, well, here you are. This is the problem with the NFL too, and this is where I don't want to blame Jawan Jennings, is because players going into the final year of their deal, that's the time to negotiate, always. So what he did was got more money for last year, got some security this year, but also the right to try to get a new contract. Like, that's really what he did. And so I'm not going to blame Jawan Jennings for what he's doing. He's doing what he should do. He's 28 years old. This is his potentially last chance at a real payday. I understand what he's doing. I also understand why he didn't hold out, because he's not the caliber player to hold out. You just can't do that. Not every player has that autonomy, and he's not one of them. Now, maybe this comment here is correct above Dave's, where, somebody suggests that he's not hurt and that he's working with the team on the 2-year deal, or a contract, what have you. Yeah, that's a possibility for sure. I'm not ignorant. That's definitely a possibility. You heard 2 years, 13 million a year, obviously. Yeah, I heard 13 to 16. So we'll see. We'll see. Mooney wanted to leave because of the tragedy, right? No, that's not what he said. He said he was checked out prior to that. Let me read the quote again just real quick. Even before that happened with my baby, I really wasn't super motivated, because after the year that I had, I wanted a contract extension. Because I wanted to stay and I knew that I wasn't getting a contract offer, they came to me, kind of told me that it was because other people had to get paid. So it kind of had me in my feelings a little bit. I just never made it public. He then went on to say that he was pissed. He knew that when the season started, it was a wrap for him in the Bay. Now, obviously, the daughter thing added to it for sure, but he says he knew he was out before the season started. So take that for what it's worth. Dave, I took a break from football. Nice. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you're talking about last year, right? That's what I'm saying, right? There was, and multiple people fell for it. Like, people that have platforms fell for it. So people told me I was wrong. I was like, well, maybe I'm wrong. I guess maybe you did sign it. Who knows? What else you guys got before I get out here? Yeah. Oh, he's talking about the contract? I don't know. I don't know what he hears and he doesn't hear, but it sounds like we're hearing similar things. So there's that. Completely agree, Sen. You cannot pay everybody. This is, no truer words have been spoken. That is an actual factual for sure. All right, listen. I don't know what the rest of this week looks like. I'm trying to get something going with Coach. He hasn't streamed in a few weeks. He had some laptop issues. He's finally got his laptop in. He's putting everything together today. Maybe he and I can get a show later in the week. What I will say is next week it's on. It's full on, Monday through Wednesday streams. I've got multiple streams as well with Roundtable Sports. I've got the one where I'm basically a panelist for the NFC West Roundtable. I represent the 49ers while each of the other teams are represented. You guys have seen that. In fact, please go tune into the NFC West Roundtable. We're going to be talking more about the event that we've got coming up in September, where you can go watch the game with us, Rams 49ers, the Thursday night football game. So there's some details around that. And I'm also going to be hosting 2 shows on the Roundtable platform. One is the NFC North, which is a great division to host. and the AFC South, which I think is a fun division as well. So excited to be a part of the Roundtable Sports team. We'll no longer be working with Bleacher Report Thursday and Friday. Just I couldn't do it anymore with what I got going on. So Tuesdays and Wednesdays are going to be packed over at Roundtable Sports, which means I got a lot of shows to be working on, not only there, but here as well. And I'm excited to be fully back. Let me work through the rest of this week. Let me try to get a show with Coach if I can, and we'll see how the rest of the week goes. But next week, it's I'm back. So I got to be. It's time to get to work. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to get to work. Blazer tangent. Yeah. I love that he's back for sure. I don't expect a lot, but I love that he's back. All right, y'all. On the way out, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, would appreciate you. It goes a long way. If you haven't already, subscribe as well. And we'll be seeing you. Much love. Appreciate everybody, all your support. Talk to you soon. Peace.